In this video, we're going to create a database, and hopefully in the process, this will remove any fears you have regarding databases. Now, many web-based applications need to use databases to manage the ton of information that they need to operate properly. So, knowing how to create and put into play a database is almost a must-know task. Now, let's go ahead and dive into this, and you might be surprised just how easy this is once you see it done. I'm going to be using WordPress as the example web-based application that requires a database. So we'll be touching on that closer to the end of the video. So first off, we want to log into our cPanel control panel, and we're going to scroll down or navigate to the MySQL database area, which is located in the databases panel. And right here we've got the MySQL databases and the MySQL database wizard, which basically do the same thing, only this one gives it more of a user-friendly look. And then we've got the phpMyAdmin, which is going to be used to manage the databases that are created here. Let's go on into here first off, because once you see it done here, then using the wizard is going to be much easier. But again, the end result will be the same. So we need to give it a name, then we're going to give it a username, then we're going to assign a password to that user, then we're going to assign privileges to that user, as well as tying that user into that particular database. Okay, now here's where we want to copy down this information. We're going to need to copy down on a notepad or pen and paper kind of thing the database name, the username, and the password. And I'll show you that here in a second when we get over to the WordPress application. So first, let's give it a name. And obviously I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. Test is not a very good name because you want to try to think security as you're going through this process. So either give it a name that might be closely related to the application that you're creating, maybe the name of the WordPress site you're creating it for, but test will do for the sake of this demonstration. Click on Create Databases, and let's go ahead and copy this down. And what I've got here is the prefix, which is part of the name, as well as the underscore and then the name itself that I just assigned to it. I'm going to copy that into my clipboard, open up a text document, and paste that in. Now that's the database name. Now also, for the sake of simplicity and the time factor involved in this video, I will also use this as the username as well. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Click on Go Back. Now we need to create the user, and again, for simplicity's sake, I'm using the same name for the user as I did for the database. That's not necessary. You can have whatever name you want here, but remember the prefix and the underscore is part of that name. I want to assign a password for this, and I tend to use the password generator because it always gives it a nice strong password. Click on the generator. You can click this button here to toggle through various different passwords until you find one that you like. Frankly, they're all pretty solid. Click on this box here. Click on Use Password and click on Create User. I'm going to go ahead and paste that right in here. And again, I used the same name for the database as I did for the username. And you'll see here in a second where these three items are going to come in handy. Click on Go Back. Now we've got the password, we've got the username, and we've got the database name created. We need to assign the user to that database. And you can assign any user that you've created to any database that you've created. But this is going to work for me right here. I'm assigning that user test to that database test. And now then we need to assign privileges. Now some scripts will only require certain privileges to be assigned to a particular user. I myself am just going to select this box so that all privileges are assigned to this user of this database. Click on Make Changes, and you can always come back later and adjust those privileges also. Click on Go Back, and our database is created, the user is created, the password is created for that user, and the privileges are assigned to that user. We're good to go. Now if at any time in the future you need to delete that user, you've got that option right here. And if you want to delete that database, you want to do so here. Now when you delete a database, that is not deleting the user. The user is still intact until you come down here and click on this red X to delete that user as well. Okay, so that's the creation of the database. Let's show you how you can put it into play. Let's head on over to a WordPress installation. Go back home here, and I want to go into File Manager. Now I've already got a WordPress installation here under Blog, so let's open up this directory. And we see several folders and files here. This is a typical WordPress installation. Now, whatever script you've got that is in need of a database, more times than not, you're going to have a config.php or some type of a config file. This is the one for WordPress. So if it's not a WordPress application you need the database for, it might be something else, but chances are pretty good you're going to need the config file to apply these items to assign that database to this particular application. Let's go ahead and open this up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to select that file. Whoops, I want to select the right file. Then I'm going to come on up here and click on Edit or Code Edit, either way. I'm going to scroll down here until I see DB user, DB password, and DB name. And I simply want to associate my database name, database user, and the password for that user right in here. And that's it. Now, of course, with this installation of WordPress, it's already got its own database that's been assigned here, but this is where you would go in case this was a manual installation of WordPress or a brand new installation of WordPress, and you were asked to create manually a database to assign to this installation. This is where you would go, the wp-config.php file, and you would scroll down till you found the MySQL settings. Then you would simply replace in between the single quotes here, make sure you leave those alone, keep those intact, but you would replace this info here with the DB name, user, and password that you jotted down when you created your MySQL database. And that's it. That's going to bring to an end this video on how to create a MySQL database.